Hi everyone, welcome to the April 2021 edition of Farsight's Human News, the remote viewing news forecast show that tells you what is going to happen, not what did happen. I am Courtney Brown, Director of Farsight. Now, before we begin, let me tell you about our next major remote viewing mysteries project that will be coming out on April 15th. Friends, you need to see this one. Nazis and Reptilians in Antarctica. That's right. If you saw our last Mysteries Project, Presidential Meetings with Extraterrestrials, you were probably left wondering why U.S. presidents would make such a bad deal with certain ET groups for technology transfers that never fully happened and which put humanity in the challenging situation that we find ourselves in today. Well, now you're going to find out why. You see, after the Allied forces conquered the Nazis at the end of World War II, apparently they discovered that there was one more Nazi base that they had to deal with. And that base was hidden in Antarctica. Well, they set out to deal with that base. There was a battle and, well, things did not go well. The Nazis in that base had help, and they were under the influence of a particular group of extraterrestrials who had a long-term plan. Now the story is really complicated and the conclusion is really amazing. This was all part of a very complex poker game, so to speak, a game that was designed from the start to get the Americans to give the ETs what they wanted at a future date. And it worked. This very complicated story is one that you have to see for yourself. The mainstream will laugh, of course, and right on cue. But don't you be fooled. Be there. Nazis and Reptilians in Antarctica. April 15th, in about 2 weeks, only on farsightprime.com, our streaming service. Now, before we go further, let's summarize what happened last month with our Human News program. Starting with Princess Janae's report, Princess reported on a volcano that erupted. The weather was cold, there was a city in the background, sirens, smoke, loud explosive sounds, and so on. Well, those were all part of the data, and in March, there was a large eruption of a volcano in Iceland. It was a big news event. It was the first volcanic eruption of that location in over 800 years, and it was about 28 kilometers or 17 miles from Reykjavik. In another report, Aziz Brown described a subject in a large structure who was having a temper tantrum. There was another person on which he was focusing much of his attention. Someone who may have been trying to help him. Well, the report matched pretty closely to a news report that appeared on MSNBC on March 5th about Richard Barnett, one of the January 6 protesters in Washington, D.C., who was photographed sitting at the desk of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. He had a serious shouting temper tantrum when he was listening to the judge discuss the possible extensive jail terms with his lawyer. The subject was communicating remotely from jail due to the pandemic, which also seems to match the remote viewing session. Kamaya Dunson reported on an event in what appears to have been a capital city with regal structures. Someone was being judged, and it was almost like a trial, but different. Something big happened, and, well, people were upset. Well, there were a number of such meetings in Washington, D.C., which is a very confrontational place during the month of March, so it is unclear which meeting this was. Some of the meetings dealt with confirmation hearings, so this might also be involved. Now, Melina Hall reported on what appears to be a rally or gathering of subjects in an urban area. The subjects had red hats. This report parallels the report by Trudy Benjamin, in which Trudy reported on a group of subjects who were walking their way along the streets to a structure in an urban area. The gathering had some sadness. They were focused on a central subject. Well, what is interesting about these two reports is that they parallel an event that was supposed to happen, but which was nipped in the bud by security forces. There was supposed to be a march or demonstration of this sort on March 4th in support of Donald Trump in Washington, D.C., one that was supposed to be connected to Donald Trump regaining the presidency in some undefined manner. It is unclear if Melina and Trudy were picking up on the idea of the event or perhaps the actual event itself in another timeline. If it was a big event in another timeline, it is possible that it could be picked up by one of our remote viewers. Remember that a fundamental result of the science experiments that we have conducted at the Farsight Institute does indicate that the presence of multiple timelines is a real thing. The physics of how this works is now understood, although mainstream physicists are yet to embrace the idea, and it is not unusual for there to be a delay between a new result and mainstream acceptance of that result. Now, friends, I need to take a moment to speak bluntly to you. You see, we are getting close to what you might call the final scenes in our galactic soap opera drama involving Earth, so I will not hold back. Farsight is clearly starting to make a mark in society. Many people watch our human news reports each month, and a great many people pay close attention to our monthly mysteries projects, as well as our other projects that come out monthly. So, I have a prediction to make to you. As we continue our activities, remember that in our explorations of this galaxy using remote viewing, we find no evidence of peace and tranquility. What we find is evidence of a war-torn galaxy, a virtual holocaust of nearly unimaginable proportions. Moreover, even if the worst of the fighting is not occurring at this very moment, the memory of whatever has been going on over a very long stretch of time has left its mark everywhere. And the primary focus of current ET civilizations appears to be self-defense. Well, the more Farsight dives into the depth of the history of Earth, our solar system, and our galaxy, and especially if our projects are as accurate as we think they are, there will be pushback. You see, there are two ways that ETs seem to fight wars. Of course, there is a physical fighting phase, which happens during times of intense military activity, but the reason they are fighting is to control resources, and resources are both physical and natural, in the sense of planets and life on those planets. Now, a primary goal of fighting wars is to control the life by getting the life to go along with a level of enslavement, the way humans get cows to agree to be herded and used for whatever purposes. Well, to control humans, you need to control what they believe, and that means you must control what they know. So the more accurate Farsight projects are, the more likely Farsight will threaten to disrupt the control of the human herd, and the more likely Farsight will become a target in the information war. And make no mistake about it, this is a war. Whether it is the fighting kind or the control of information kind, the purpose of both kinds is the same. Friends, every single one of you on this planet, no matter who you are or where you live, came from somewhere else. No human being alive today evolved here on Earth, and every single one of you has been treated with an amnesia system that has removed your memories of who you really are and where you came from. There are no exceptions. Elsewhere in this galaxy, this is not the case. People remember who they were, going back thousands of years. The amnesia system used here has two parts. First, something is done to you before you are born into human bodies, and we went into that in our Death Traps project. But the second part of the amnesia system is a very carefully crafted system of maintaining your loss of memory while you are living the life of a human. This system is also intended to make you forget that you are not the physical body, that the real you is an eternal being that absolutely cannot die. This was all set up by extraterrestrials who have long been using this planet as a galactic prison system. Since you cannot be killed no matter what, the only thing they can do to you is to eradicate your memories and lock you up. You see, it is possible to regain your memories of who you really are and where you came from. It is possible to remember your former homes and who kidnapped you, stole your property, and trapped you here. And those who did that to you definitely do not want that to happen. The guilty are afraid. The single most important thing that threatens the entire prison system is information that could jog your memories. Information regarding the true past of this planetary population threatens to unravel the entire prison system, to make the job of controlling humanity completely impossible. You would all rise up. Well, this is the true mission of Farsight, to help you regain your memories by showing you who you really are and by revealing this planet's true past, one project at a time. This is why we are in an information war right now. The information that we publish, especially that contained in our mysteries projects, directly threatens the abilities of the extraterrestrial prison authorities to control you. If we continue doing what we are doing, this entire planet will eventually rise up against them, and there is nothing they could do to control you if that happens. You would be free. The prison walls break down as soon as you remember. So, I want our audience to expect that the time will come when Farsight becomes a target in this information war. It is impossible to think otherwise. Let me tell you how they will most likely fight us. When that moment comes, the goal will be to make as much noise as possible as a means of diverting your attention away from Farsight. You see, when people see a lot of accusations and commotion, they assume that where there is smoke, there is fire, and there must be something that I or Farsight has done wrong to discredit what we have done. People rarely seek to understand how the entire thing is a complex game of manipulation. Moreover, those who seek to cause a lot of commotion will likely have resources to keep the commotion going for as long as they think it is useful, knowing that the accusations and commotion alone are all that is needed. They will not need to actually prove anything. Finger pointing and shouting will be all that is needed, and the job will be done. Or at least, that is the plan. Friends, I want you to know that this anticipated moment of commotion and disinformation is precisely why we have developed our own distribution methods. Farsight Prime, our YouTube channel, and our own book publication outlet, Farsight Press. We can't rely on others to tell our perspective. Other media outlets will too easily fall prey to the creators of commotion and disinformation. Fear and manipulation will all too often result in withdrawal, and they will pull the mic, so to speak. And then the commotion and disinformation creators would be the only ones you would hear, and they would rely on the cancel culture to finish us off. So, know that days will most certainly arrive in which commotion and disinformation will seem loud and oppressive, and we are doing everything in our power to prepare for such moments. When those moments arrive, we encourage you to stick with us. We will still exist in our own venues that are under our control. We will still tell you the truth of what we see, and our relentlessness will eventually allow us to tip the tide in our favor. The war is currently an information war. What they can make you believe is all that matters right now. But remember that both information wars and physical fighting wars are still wars, and wars are fought to be won, using whatever is needed to do the job. Those who want to control what you know are as resourceful as they are clever. Learn and grow with us, one project at a time, but know that the future will be more like a roller coaster, not a stroll in the park. We expect to win this information war, but always remember that wars are not picnics. The battle is over what you believe. This, by the way, connects with this month's intelligence briefing that I will be hosting as a live stream in about a week. In April, I will be discussing the prison system and the way to escape it. I will also be discussing the surprising consequence to this galaxy of having a planetary population in their midst that has experienced this prison system. I think a lot of you will want to see this intelligence briefing. Now, moving on, our next Time Cross episode will come out this month, and the topic is the mystery of Pueblo Bonito in Chacao Canyon, part of a large collection of ruins in northwestern New Mexico. These ruins are not well understood by archaeologists today, but we have some of the answers, so stay tuned. Also, I want to thank everyone for commenting on our first episode of Infusion. At Farsight, we always try new things and then fix and change things to make them better. Nothing is ever perfect. Everything evolves. After listening to many of the comments for the first episode of Infusion, we decided that we need to speed up our plan to interview people involved with Japanimation and other cultures, and to more clearly connect the content of the show to remote viewing. We also need to better explain the purpose of the show idea. which is to do psychological profiles on young people who look to superheroes as subconscious means of recovering the real superpowers that they know deep inside that they actually have, but have forgotten when thrown into the Earth prison system. Remote viewing is one of those forgotten superpowers. So be patient with us as we